G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It is the final mock draft of the preseason. I'm picking at 11 and I'm joined with Adam King. Let's go!
Jordan open. Chicago with the lead. Bryant to Shaq.
Not a game. We talking about practice.
LeBron James with no regard for human life. Anything's possible.
Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Murray for three. Wow! Unbelievable. Making it rain in New York. We the North are now we the champions.
Not the destination, it's the journey. Mamba out.
G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at BallBoysNBA and on Instagram at BallBoysFantasyBasketball. Today it is the last mock draft show of the preseason, and I'm joined by a good friend of the show, Adam King. How are you, man?
Pretty good, yeah. Nice to jump on. I was working from home today, so let's take advantage and do another draft.
Why not? We're coming into the last weekend before the season starts, so it's really go time for fantasy drafts. This will be the last minute preparation for everyone out there tuning in, getting ready for their drafts this weekend. And next week, it's NBA time. So, we're really coming down to the crunch time of the preseason now. You were saying before off air, you're keen for the season to get started?
Yeah, I am. It's just been, it's such, I mean, you would know and all the other analysts would know, it's a hectic time of year because there's no schedule to what we're doing at the moment. It's just, let's pump out as much content as possible and fit it in. So it'll be nice to have some structure and routine when the season kicks off.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I'm just keen to watch some basketball, all the analysis and projections that we've been working on. Let's see how much of it actually is legit and how much, we've completely gone off the rails. So let's jump over into our draft now. The group is here and raring to go. Oh, Jokic immediately off the table. Okay. And I'm assuming Giannis is going to be going at number 2. You're at pick 9. I've kind of stitched you up here by putting you in a bit of a tough spot in the draft. What are you hoping gets to you at pick 9 here?
Oh, look, it's, yeah, as we said, probably Halliburton would be someone I'd consider, but you're going to grab Halliburton.
Yeah, I've told everyone to leave Halliburton to me.
So no, look, I don't know. I mean, I guess LaMelo would have been a guy here, but with injury news today, he could be out for the first, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks. So it doesn't bump him down a lot, but it probably just pushes him down more to on the turn for me, so around pick 12. So we'll see. We'll see that. I mean, there's a number of guys I could consider at 9: Tatum, Curry, Towns, Trae Young, Lillard, LaMelo.
It's sort of just a pick your poison kind of a spot in the draft. We'll just recap. Giannis went at 2, Embiid at 3, Luka at 4, James Harden at 5, and Durant at 6. All pretty standard here. Tatum there is the 7. So to me, that's almost pretty consensus top 7. And then Steph Curry goes at 8, and it's on to you, mate.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to... Yeah, I mean, there's a few guys I like here. I think I'm actually going to go and take Trae Young, which is... probably a couple other guys I could have taken there, but as we said, they're all sort of mushed together in this 3 to 13 range, so this is fine. Yeah.
So I'm going to go Tyrese Halliburton here. I did ask the group to leave Tyrese for me. I actually took Tyrese at 8 the other day at the Fantasy Basketball International World Cup after Tatum got taken the pick before me. So today I'm going to be trying to go with the punt points strategy, which I've talked about a little bit on the podcast before, and I'm going to see how that works out with Tyrese as sort of my starting pick. It'll be interesting to see if LaMelo makes it back to me if he goes here at 13. No, so LeBron James goes there. So for me, in that instance, I am actually going to take LaMelo Ball here. Again, I know there's a lot of talk about tanking and things like that. I'm not getting ahead of myself. I think LaMelo is just, that good of a player that I'm going to be happy to take him on my team. I'm starting really strong in assists and steals. My percentages are pretty decent as well. So
damn it.
There goes Kyrie. Is he who you wanted?
That is who I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Look, there's a few guys I could take here. I'm actually, oh man, I don't know now.
Yeah, you're going to have to. It almost feels like a bit of a reach here, but you've got to. There's a few guys that fit the build you might want.
Oh, where is he? I'm going to actually go with. I'm actually going to take Kawhi here, which is probably a little higher than I want, but I'm pretty confident Trae Young, he's durable. Even when he gets injured, he only misses 2 games. So, I'm going to go with Kawhi and fill up a forward spot because the rosters are a bit weird in this league. You've got 4 guards, 4 forwards, and 1 center. So
this is the standard Fantrax setting, I believe, but you can obviously give it forwards, power forwards, all the actual settings. We've still got the 1 center spot. But to me, this is honestly like my preferred way to go about it. But yeah, I don't think it changes too much, except for maybe sometimes you want a guy who's power forward eligible, but for your small ball builds, it might change it a little bit. But yeah, I think that's sort of fine. Kawhi Leonard is someone that I think definitely changes depending on where your playoffs are and the schedule of your playoffs.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I think it's the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl where they end on that earlier one in March. Is it March 19th or something like that? His schedule in that playoff setting was pretty awful. I think it gets better the later you go. But yeah, someone who I consistently say, just look at your playoff schedule and make a decision based off that.
Yeah, and look, in saying that, I mean, yes, the playoff schedule might get better, but who's to say it'll be the last couple of weeks of the season. If the Clippers are locked into the 3rd seed or something like that, then Kawhi's not going to play every game, let's be honest.
So since then, we had Anthony Davis go after you. After that, Paul George, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards still going in the 2nd round. Sabonis, who I'm not a huge fan on in the 2nd round. With Luka, it's not the worst, but again, you're lacking the blocks. DeJounte Murray after that, Gobert, and Cade Cunningham to finish that 2nd round. So anything stand out for you there in the 2nd round? For me personally, it's the Edwards and Sabonis picks. Just think they're just a little bit too high for me. I know other people maybe disagree on the Sabonis thing, but I'm just personally a little bit lower on him just because he doesn't give me the blocks that I would typically want from a poor free throw shooting big.
Yeah, look, I think if you're punting blocks, he's good here because he is a center that will get you basically everything except 4 blocks.
Threes
a
and
bit
free
high
throws.
for Edwards as well, but I mean, this is if you want him,
He's going,
probably wasn't going to come back in the next round. So Josh and I actually discussed this morning that we've started to see Cade Cunningham actually going ahead of Anthony Edwards in some drafts, which is interesting. Didn't happen in this one, and Zion on the turn now. I love Zion this season, so I like that pick.
Yeah, I've had my views about Zion pretty well published. Look, I don't not like the guy. I think he's a really good player, and I think he has definitely a potential of being really good. It's just when people pair him with Giannis and Gobert, and then they get Ben Simmons, and then their field goal is just like sitting at 70%, and it's like half of his value is in his field goal percentage. And to me, you just got to understand that when you already are beating everyone else in field goal by 15 percentage points, that you're not getting the maximum value out of him, and then you're also taking on that injury risk. So I think I much prefer him starting with like a Luka, where his field goal is a little bit more actually useful. But again, it's a bit nitpicky. But yeah, the way he looks right now in terms of how in shape he is, he's looking good, looking scary.
Yeah, I just think I mean, we say it all the time. Fantasy, the idea of fantasy is to have fun, and I just think if Zion's healthy, it's not going to be fun if he gets injured. But if he's healthy and playing, I think he'll just be a really fun guy to have on your team.
Oh, absolutely! No, he's a monster. He's a beast. Your picks coming up here. Who are you looking at coming at pick number 33? Was it Donovan Mitchell? Okay.
Yeah, look, I guess I'm trying to still just get some points going here. Who have I picked? I don't even know who I've picked. Trae Young. Points, in this build, you sort of just need to lock in points and assists quite early. Yep. It's probably a bit of a reach. Where are we at? 33. Yeah, so I'm going to take Shea here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't have him in any of my leagues, so it would be interesting to see how this would play out. But yeah, maybe a little bit high. You're on the clock here.
I am on the clock. I know pretty much what I'm going to do here. So at 35, again, I sort of advertised at the start, I'm going to try the punt point strategy and sort of see how I go towards the end here. So a guy that I really love in this range, starting very strong in a few different areas, is Chris Paul. So I'm looking pretty solid in my assists and steals. My percentage also, I think, are pretty decent as well. So on my next pick, I'm going to look to start to get some big man stats, but I think there are a few guys around that I can get for that. But Chris Paul in a punt points strategy, he's like a first round guy. He's top 10.
Oh yeah.
And he often falls because of his age and the fact he doesn't score much. So that's where I like this strategy as part of a value gaining strategy. But back to
You're, as you said, in a punt points, this and all three guys that you've drafted here so far fit that build perfectly. Even LaMelo, who's sort of probably the number one option, isn't going to blow up for 30 points a game.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's going to score 20 to 25 points a night, but compared to the other guys that are going in that spot, Kyrie, LeBron, Lillard, all those guys are scoring nearly 30. It's not necessarily his worst category, but it's his worst when you compare it to the other guys around him. So the next guy that I'm going to get here, just going to shore up a category which is going to be very hard to find later in a Miles Turner. So again, I've drafted 3 guards and then a center, but I reckon just by drafting Miles Turner on his own, I'm going to be pretty competitive in blocks without really having to worry about it too much later on. So... no, I like how this draft has turned out so far. Who are you? Are you getting sniped left, right, and centre here?
I am every pick so far. I did have a backup who I'm not super high, but I'm going to go if I can find him. Whoop. So I'm going to take a little bit of a short-term boost here. Terry Rozier at 40, I think with LaMelo out, he gets a small bump.
Yeah,
for a month or so.
I think that's a pretty decent spot regardless anyway. I think he's definitely a top 40 guy. And yeah.
And as you said there with Turner, you really only need one elite shot blocker this season to be competitive in blocks.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much at all. You get Turner, and if you can grab someone like I don't know, well, probably not Claxton. He doesn't really fit your build, but someone later in the drafts who's going to get you 1.3 blocks.
Yeah, even like a enough. Draymond or something like that, later on. Yeah, that would be...
Yeah, punting points, yep. Draymond fits there, So
after my pick, it was Drew Holiday that was sniped cruelly from your hands. You took Terry Rozier, Evan Mobley, DeAndre Ayton, and Zach LaVine there. A couple of guys I like in this round. I love Drew Holiday at that spot. I think that he is often a guy that we overlook. So he went up, 39, I think it was.
Yeah.
I just think he's very, very solid. Mobley, I think that's about where I've got him. Ayton, again, you're going to start to see these run on centers here. I do notice that, especially in those field goal percentage builds, I don't know because I know you're a fan of that kind of a build, it's really hard to get centers that fit that this year. Mm-hmm. And when I go to punt blocks, I often find myself just punting rebounds as well because, there's just not many guys that I love. If I don't grab a Vucevic or someone like that early, it is hard to get those centers in the build that fits it nicely. Have you found something similar?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it is tricky. There's a couple of guys that I sort of target later if I need to fill that center spot. Someone like a Kelly Olynyk, or a PJ Washington.
I love PJ this year,
who has center eligibility. Yeah, so there's a few guys late. Isaiah Hartenstein's an interesting one, really late. If I've been in a few situations where I haven't drafted a center and it's round 12. And Hartenstein, he's not a perfect fit for that build, but he's not. He won't kill you from the free throw line. He is handy in steals and assists.
Yeah.
So, another really late option.
Yeah, it is. It is one that I've found myself sort of not planning on going the full 4-category punt, but kind of needing to by necessity. After those picks there, we had DeRozan, Fox, Allen, Brown, and Middleton to finish that 4th round there. Again, all these picks seeming pretty solid here. Again, if I draw back to that Luka team, it looks like they're punting the free throw percentage, but maybe also punting the blocks, which with the Bam and Sabonis as your 2 bigs, which is not something you typically see, but it is interesting strategy there. not saying it's a bad one, but just interesting.
And I mean, look, it's a mock draft, so
Yeah.
let's.
Everyone's
obviously drafting sensibly and properly, but this is when you want to try those punt builds to then, I guess, be well versed enough that when your real draft comes around, you know what you're doing and you have some targets in mind ahead of time.
And there goes Ben Simmons at pick number 50. He is definitely flying up the draft boards at the moment. I know I've just done my top 10 sleeper picks, and on that, Ben Simmons did feature because he's ranked in the 80s. So we were discussing before the podcast, like the difference between these mock drafts that we're doing with people who are switched on and maybe some of the more casual drafts that go on out there that are a bit more influenced by those rankings. So if you are in a league that obviously is a bit more switched on, you're going to have to go for a Ben Simmons in the 5th round or something like that, just to make sure you get those players that make perfect sense in your builds. So it is interesting that, the disparity between where he goes in a lot of these mocks versus the value in him in more casual leagues.
Yeah, and I mean, someone like Simmons, his value it's a wild range in terms of where he goes because of
your build.
He can go. I've taken him in the third. Late third, early fourth, so around pick 40, and then sometimes you see him go at 80.
Yeah.
Depending if no one needs what he brings, then he typically falls because of his deficiencies.
Yeah. All right, coming up to you, 2 picks away. Who are you eyeing off on the board here?
Yeah, so look, I'm in that. There goes Bain. Bain was someone I was looking at.
Yeah.
I am in that spot here where I'm obviously going for a guard-heavy roster. So looking at my guard stats, punting rebounds, punting blocks, punting field goal percentage, which is typically the build I go for. And I am sort of starting to think about grabbing a centre here because I don't want to get to round 8 and be hoping for PJ Washington, because based on what people have done so far in this draft, I'll probably get sniped. So I'm going to fill my centre spot. It's is there anyone else that I'd rather? No, look, it's a mock draft. I'm going to take Şengün here.
Okay.
It's probably sort of at his ceiling.
Yeah.
There's not much room, but he is a good fit.
The assists and steals in that kind of a build are definitely valuable. And I don't think it's crazy. Like you said, it's probably ceiling, but again, I am aware that in the build you're going for, it is tough to fill that center position with someone who's like somewhat decent at what you're trying to do. I'm going to grab... what do I need here? So let's go with a guy who I just really like this year in Vassell at 59. Even if he's not the best scorer, I'm going to get a use of his threes, steals, decent percentages, low turnovers, which will be valuable in this kind of a build. And hopefully, can I get a big man on the way back? Let's have a look. So Giddey went, then Lowry Market, and Giddey was definitely someone I was considering over Vassell as well, but I thought that my assists were fairly strong already. Now, big guys. I hate this range for big guys. What are we at? 62. Do I make a reach for a guy that's perfect in my build or risk him coming back to me later? How strong is my free throw? This is the question. It's okay. Let's go with Jakob there. The only thing I'm concerned about with Jakob there is my free throws, because I am punting the points and I've got guys that don't get to the line very often. That's the concern with my punt point strategy is the free throw negative effect will hurt me a lot because I don't have those sort of Damian Lillards or Trae Youngs to really boost my volume from the line. So we'll see if we can deal with his free throws down the line. And you're back on the clock.
Yeah, so I was looking at someone like a Gary Trent here just because I need to fill out my forward spots and he has forward eligibility. But, I don't know if he'll be available next round. And what are we at? Pick 64. So I'm looking at a couple of rookies, potentially, Banchero and Jabari Smith. And I think I'm going to go with... going to change my mind and go with
Okay.
Caro. So I actually had Jabari Smith lined up there, and I think just because I've been watching the Magic play today,
Yeah, maybe. He looked better today.
Yeah, he looked good today, and I think I did chat about this. I think I might have taken him this morning, or maybe someone else did. But in this build, I think with Suggs out, with Fultz out, Banchero and Wagner are going to handle the ball a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I think could get a small bump in assists at least to open the season.
Yeah, Banchero is someone that I've always I've been off on, but I can't really put my finger on why. I was kind of a bit down on him in the draft. I still had him at 3, but I had the other 2 guys sort of well ahead of him. I don't think I've really ever drafted him in a mock draft. I just worry that he's going to be really inefficient. I don't know if there's going to be many steals, threes, or blocks. I'm not super down on him, but I think there is a bit of downside that maybe people are not fully prepared for because he is just the number 1 pick. And I think actually just the fact those other guys are out, not that they're the best offensive players in the world, but there is just a bit more focus on him from the other team's defense. And I feel like that might hurt his efficiency, just being a rookie, being like the number 1 option on a team.
Yeah, look, that's all fair. And yeah, as I said, I would normally go with Jabari there just because I feel like his floor is a little safer because of his defensive stuff and his rebounds.
But you're not going to get the assists from Jabari, obviously, and if that's what you want, then...
Yeah, and that's sort of why I lent into Banchero there, although the steals would have been nice. But, yeah, I'm okay with Banchero. I don't regret it. And we'll see who comes back to me. Yeah, absolutely.
After your pick went Keldon Johnson, Julius Randle, Jalen Green, Michael Porter Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., shame we didn't have Otto Porter Jr. afterwards, and then John Collins, Colin Sexton. Anyone in there strike your eye as anything particularly out of ordinary? Nothing really for me. Maybe Michael Porter Jr. is starting to creep up a little, although... it's probably maybe nearly close to where he normally goes.
Yeah, I like Michael Porter there. I know you're not... Oh, there goes Jabari Smith. He's not coming back to me.
He's in Mikey
I know
too.
you were pretty down on Michael Porter last season, which ended up being a really good call. But if you can get him here, so that was pick 70-ish, something 68,
late
something.
60s.
So that I think that's fine. Like I think his floor, health is obviously an issue, but if he plays, I don't see him falling any lower than this. And in the season that he did play, so not last season prior to that, he was the 27th ranked player, and that was with Jamal Murray and Jokic healthy. So I'm not saying he'll get up to be a top 30 player, but I think there's certainly room for him to beat this rank by 1 to 2 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me has always just been his field goal percentage. I just don't expect to see a repeat of what he did that season, and I think that if you're drafting with the expectation that he has that upside, I just feel as though people will be disappointed because, he could definitely breach the spot, but the injury risk just has me a little bit further down than that. And I'm always trying to draft those injury risk guys at a discount, and I just don't think that this is enough of a discount for me personally. But again, I could be wrong. He could definitely easily be here. But that's just my thoughts.
What are you thinking? So again, because I was watching Orlando, Wendell Carter is growing on me.
I like Wendell.
I think so he went at 73, 74. I think that's really good. He looks really good, and the fact that he's not stuck behind Mo Bamba now, I think his block rate could go up.
Yeah, so the thing, that was always my thing with him. He was a great shot blocker in college. His nickname was the Block Panther after what he wore to draft night, and so he was a big shot blocker. And then they've just dried up the last couple of seasons. But his scoring and assists were really strong last year. The only concern I had was with Paolo coming in. Does that take a step back? And if it does he then bring the blocks back up enough? There's definitely a lot of upside, I think, at that point. He could easily be a top 50 guy. And in this part of the draft where the centers are a bit whatever, I do like Wendell Carter. I do think he could be someone that has a bit of upside that we're not talking that much about.
No, and I think just watching them today, I mean, it's pre-season and they're against the Grizzlies, and Steven Adams is obviously not the most mobile of centers, but it looks as though he's forming some nice chemistry with Wagner and Banchero. He got a few nice looks at the rim. He was more than capable of shooting the three, which we know he can do. So, yeah, I think there's some nice upside for him this season. Yeah, for sure. Marcus Smart's just off the clock. One more pick, and then it's on to you. Who are you hoping to get at this spot? So I'm probably looking at maybe Gary Trent here, just to get some points, threes, and steals, which I'm probably lacking in a little bit, having taken some of those guys. What are we? 81. That's fine for Gary Trent. I think his ADP is it's around 90 or something, but he was top 40 last year. I'm not expecting that, but I think around pick 80, he's fairly safe. It all just depends on his steals, really. Yeah, and Franz Wagner, that's who I was looking at as well. So he was in my queue as well. I'm going to pull the trigger here on the guy who excels in my build, and that is a Draymond Green. Again, at pick 83, he's probably like a top 30 guy in my build. So, again, it's just a guy that I feel like, just to illustrate a point to the listeners out there, that when you are punting points, these guys that are super valuable to you, that give you rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, but people don't like them because they don't score more than 10 points a game. I think that's where the value presents itself. And then I'm hoping... What am I doing well in? I'm doing well in my assists and steals. I think pretty good there. I probably need some more rebounding. And I still need to look after my free throw percentage. So that's the challenge. Getting good rebounds whilst keeping my free throws relatively strong. And who do I like in this area? Not a lot. Klay Thompson just went. I wanted to circle back. There was a pick in the last round. Tyrese. Oh, shit. PJ Washington was someone that I wanted. There goes your center. You've got Miles Turner. So I've got heaps of centers. I just like him regardless. Yeah. Whilst I figure out my next pick, what are your thoughts on Tyrese Maxey in his preseason and the hype that he could potentially be generating out there? Look, I think from what we're seeing, I mean, you would expect, based on the hype that we've seen and the way he's been playing, that he would be going up, his ADP would be going up. And I don't think it is. And I think people are starting to switch on to the fact that he will score, but he doesn't get a lot of assists. He doesn't get a lot of steals. And I said to Josh this morning, when you think of Maxey, you think of him as a point guard, but I think you actually have to think of him as a shooting guard because he's not the primary ball handler. Yeah. So I think if you can just adjust your thinking there, in that he's basically a scorer, can be an efficient scorer, which is nice. But I think that allows you then to realise, okay, he's not a top 50 guy. He's more of a top 80 player. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Who are you looking at here? In my queue, so I'm going to go with Sadiq Bey here. The Adam King special. Yeah, look, I mean, I don't think he's a super great player, but he's going to score. He's going to shoot threes. He's pretty good from the free throw line. He might get me a steal a game. So, are you worried? Are you worried about Bojan taking some of his shots potentially? Or I know they didn't start him today, but it looks like Bagley went down with an injury. So. Not sure what they're doing there. Really. I mean, I think they're going to play Bogdanovic, but he's not young. I mean, I don't know how old Bojan is. Have I got him? He'd have to be like 31 or 32, I'd say. Yeah, 30. I don't even have his age there anyway. Yeah, he'd have to be over 30. Yeah. So I mean, while he'll play, they'll get him out there. Bey is who they want to develop. So and they're not trying to win, so they're not going to play these veterans to try and win games. So I'm not too concerned about it. Yeah, no worries. My last pick, I went with Keegan Murray. Not super psyched about it, but I think, like I was saying before, I was looking for some rebounds, looking for someone to do it on efficient free throw shooting, and I think he has some defensive upside as well. Shooting looks good in the preseason. Don't know if he's going to be starting over Okpala to start the season, but I can't imagine that's going to last very long. So that was my sort of reasoning behind Keegan Murray. It's probably the only draft I've ever actually gotten Keegan Murray in so far. Champs, what are you doing here, mate? You're timing out.
Or are we going to let that slide? Yeah, no, that was an auto timer. We'll let it slide.
Yeah,
Sucked in.
Capella's fine. I mean, at 93, you can getting a guy that can block 1.5 shots a game. Yeah, that's fine.
It was definitely on my list as well. There goes Al Horford again, another person who I was hoping to come back around to me, but that's okay. Maybe I should have considered him over Keegan Murray, but yeah, the age and injury risk is still there. And Tyus Jones, another guy who I'm looking at. So all these players that are on my queue just getting smashed. At the moment.
Yeah, we're sort of getting into that range now where it's one category, two category guys.
Just go get your dude. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you hit sort of 95, 100, it's if you've got a player and he's ranked 150th, but you want him, just take him because there's no difference really.
Yeah, no, 100%. Gordon Haywood has just gone at pick 95. What are your thoughts on Gordon Haywood? He played his first preseason game yesterday, I think it was. Only played 12 minutes, but... do you think he could be good value around like the 90s, 100?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I think, he's not going to, he's going to play 50 games, probably 55 games.
Yeah.
But, I mean, with LaMelo going down as well now, no Bridges, if he's on the court, they're going to need him to score.
Absolutely.
So, and we know what he can do. He's obviously not the player he was 2-3 years ago, but I think, at pick 100,
yep.
That's fine.
Yeah, for sure. Anthony Simons goes there at pick 97. Anything, again, standing out to me? Tobias Harris, he's obviously a player that I'm not a big fan on, but I think it's getting closer to where I would want him. There's just no upside. Like, I'd much rather take a punt on a Gordon Haywood or a Tyus Jones. He was so bad after the James Harden trade, and there's just no upside for me personally. Are you maybe a little higher than myself on Tobias?
Probably fractionally. I don't think there's a lot of upside, but I do think he'll be better than he was last season. Having had a full off-season training camp, that sort of thing, to actually adjust to playing next to James Harden, because I'm sure he's not an easy player to play alongside.
I'm sure.
So Tobias would have, he obviously moves down in the pecking order there, but if they can get an understanding together, and Harden, I don't think he's going into the mindset this year that he needs to score. So he may defer to guys like Harris and Maxey a little bit more. So I'm probably not as low as you, but I'm not super high either. I think around this pick is fine. Yeah.
There's obviously much less risk of it actually fully busting on you at this point.
Yeah.
All right, coming back to you. So Jaren Jackson Jr. is off the board, interestingly going before Robert Williams, the other injured shot blocking big man. Your pick is up next. Who have you got in your queue there? Who are you hoping to get to you?
I don't know. There's a couple of guys I don't mind here. I was looking at Herb Jones, maybe just for the steals, and I think his role is pretty secure because of that element of his game. I think they need him on the floor. Jeremy Grant is another guy I like around this range. I think he's looked really good in the preseason, especially on the defensive end. So if he can get back to sort of being a 1.2 steals, one block, 1.5 threes, he could be handy for me in this range. Doesn't get a lot of assists, but as I said, you're not going to get guys in this range who help you with all your categories.
Yeah,
so
you are
I think that's why it's nice to pick in this range. Like I said, I did want pick 12 or pick 10, just because I think pairing is really nice.
Just going to cut you off there so you can make your pick before it times out.
So I'm going to go with Jeremy Grant.
Yeah.
And it just does give you a little bit more safe. Like I could say, okay, I'm going to take Grant. He doesn't help me in assists, so my next pick I can target assists.
That's right.
And it's easier to build a queue because you'll have a bit more of an idea who's available. I'll let you go now that Brogdon's gone.
Brogdon just got sniped from me. I was hoping to get a last little bit of assist there before I focus on everything else, but I might have to pivot now because he was the only guy really standing out to me that would give me that. Okay. What do I want to do here? I'm going to end up being really strong in blocks. But hey, do need the rebounds. Let's go with a guy that I like here at this spot, Nick Claxton. 107. I think there's a bit of value in that. I think he can easily be a top 100 guy, even if he's just playing 25 minutes, 26 minutes a night. I think that there's definitely upside from there. And then hopefully, I've got to think about my next pick because I drafted 3 point guards at the start, and then since then, outside of Draymond Green, haven't picked up too many assists since. So I might need to just get a little stronger in that category. Are you with me on the Claxton upside, or are you sort of in the camp that he's not going to get the minutes required?
No, at this range, I think he doesn't need a lot of minutes to hit this mark. I don't think he has a super high ceiling in terms of minutes. Like, I don't think they're going to run him out there for 28 or 30 minutes. Just with the flexibility they have, they can play KD at centre, they can play Simmons at centre. So, yeah, which is unfortunate because I think if he was up to 28 or 30 minutes, he'd probably be a top 50 player. But no, if you can get him here, I think he could easily be a top 80 in 24 minutes.
Okay, back onto the clock with me. I'm going to go with... what's the story with Jalen Suggs these days? He is... How long is he supposed to be out for? He's going to miss the season.
Yeah, they haven't really given him a timetable.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's really annoying me with him because he was someone I was quite high on this season.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to go his teammate and still injured, but I'm going to go with Fultz there just to make sure I get some assists. I think he might be coming back before Suggs, whose injury seems like it might go into a little bit more into the season. But again, that Orlando point guard situation is one that I'm not fully across in terms of when to expect these guys back. But I have to think because of how thin they are there, that some of those guys might be coming back a little bit sooner than before. Yeah. I'm not sure, but yeah, I considered his teammate there in Cole Anthony, but I didn't want to nosedive my field goal percentage.
Yeah, and I think I'll make my pick because then I can talk. So I'm going to take Bones Highland here. He's looked good in the preseason.
Oh, I love him. I think he's a good player.
Yeah, I think he looks really good. I'm happy to get him at 113. On the Suggs one, yeah, it's really annoying because I was sort of I was happy to take him around pick 100, but the fact that they're not going to rush him back. I mean, I don't think they're going to hold him back either, but the injury isn't super serious, but a bone bruise is so unpredictable, and it could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 months. When I did my knee, my ACL, it was the bone bruise that lingered. Like I had the surgery, I was rehabbing, but it was the bone bruise that was actually holding me back. So he could be back. He could be back at the end of October, he could be back in January. It's really annoying.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that if you do rush back, if you do come back too soon, it can flare back up again. And so, yeah, it being on that kind of a team, it does just make me hesitate a little bit. And just because, like you said, they haven't really given a clear, this is when we expect to have him back kind of timetable. And even the nature of the injury, it was sort of like, oh, yeah, it wasn't serious, but there was that sort of scare at the time, which sort of puts everyone to a bit of that cautious mode. Robert Williams then finally goes
to get him back, though.
Yes,
just in terms of developing that chemistry, they've got a really young core now, so they do want to try and get them on the floor. So I think that helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not an injury they're going to rush. So
yeah.
Frustrating.
I was just pointing out that Robert Williams just went at pick 116, was that? Just interesting to see him go, a good 12, 13 spots after Jaren Jackson Jr. I expect them both to be kind of back around the same kind of a time. Again, it's not one you want to trust too much, though. Are you, is this sort of the spot you start to consider Robert Williams if you weren't punting his really only elite category?
Yeah, I think so. I'm a little bit more worried about him than Jaren Jackson. So Jackson, I've taken him in a couple of drafts at around pick 100.
Yeah.
Rob Williams, I haven't. I think just because of this was a mishandled injury. It was there, and they sort of brought him back, and then they managed him, and then he had more surgery. So it just, to me, it sort of just screams that they're going to be very, very cautious with him, because they don't want him coming back and and re-injuring it again. So at this range, I think it's fine. But
we're onto our bench now, so...
Yeah, that's right. So it's fine, yeah, like I said, but I'm a little bit more confident that Jaren Jackson is back earlier, but time will tell.
Yeah. I'm just interested to... obviously, I've just released our latest video, which is the top 10 busts of the season. And on that list, on number 2, spoilers alert if you haven't seen it, but go check it out. But spoilers, the number 2 pick I had was Brandon Clark, and this sort of ties back into that conversation we were saying before about on the Yahoo ranks, he's ranked at 79, but we're at a pick 121, and Brandon Clark is still on the board. This is about where I'd look to take him at the moment. But it is just interesting the fact that obviously the news with it looks like he's coming off the bench. I don't know if it was just my mistake or anything like that, but I thought he was going to be the starter when Jaren Jackson Jr. was out to start the season. I guess it does make sense with his lack of shooting and then the lack of shooting of Steven Adams as well. But I think this is the range that I would be starting to consider Brandon Clark. What are your thoughts on him still being on the board in the 120s?
Yeah, I'm seeing him on board still at this, where I think, like a month ago he was going at pick 80, pick 90. So I think the fact he's not starting, he hasn't really done anything spectacular in the preseason. So he hasn't sort of made people sit up and take notice. So this is where he's going. I really want him to succeed, but I'm just not sure. I mean, I don't mind that he's not starting. But this is where I would probably look to take him, and I think he will be better once the season starts.
Yeah,
but, he hasn't performed to the level I had hoped he would.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of excitement at the start of the preseason when everyone was sort of talking him up, but obviously that's died away a little bit now, and rightfully so. I think he's not super young either. Like, I know he doesn't feel like an older guy, but he's like 26 or 27, so he's I don't know how much better in terms of just developing he's going to get. Oh, and there goes Tari Eason at pick on the round 11. That's talking about hype. He's someone going the complete other way.
He is. Josh and I had a pretty lengthy discussion about him this morning because I think I took him at 110 or 115 or something.
Right.
And part of that was just because, again, it was a mock and let's start the conversation. But I actually managed to get him in pretty much all of my draft-only leagues this season, but they were a month ago before the hype, and I managed to get him at pick 150.
I was getting him every mock draft, a few weeks ago, and I think it might have even been after Summer League. I went on Josh Lloyd's podcast, and one of the points I was sort of making was that he's going to be the Alperen Şengün of this season. Just the guy that we get all super very excited about, but we wait too long, and he's going to frustrate us because he's not going to get on the court. Because I love him. I had him, very high on my draft board, so I'm all about it. But I think, the last couple of games, Jabari Smith hasn't played. Anyway, sorry, you're on the clock here. I'll let you talk through your pick.
I'm just sort of, just having a look here. There's no one excites me. I think I'm pretty strong in free throw percentage, so I can probably take a bit of a hit there. So I'm going to take Caris LeVert here. I'm not super excited about that, but he has looked pretty good so far in the preseason. And it looks as though he's going to start, which I thought they would bring him off the bench. But
I don't know how long that lasts, but it does look like he's starting. Yeah, I'm just adding a few guys to my queue. I do need a forward. I've gone the old point guards and power forwards, which used to be the strategy back in the day. Okay, let's go with a bit of an upside pick, a bit of a flyer here, but one I think should be okay. I'm going to go with Okongwu at pick 131. I think that's a decent spot to get him. Sometimes I see people go a lot higher than this, but I think at that spot, even if he is in that bench role, he could still get to this range, and then obviously the upside if he does take over to push beyond it. I don't expect it to happen in the first maybe 2 or 3 months of the season, but I am on the the record saying that by the end of the season, I think Okongwu will be starting over Capella. It's just whether or not I have the patience to wait for that to happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, I love Okongwu this season. And I think, I mean, I haven't got his rankings in front of me, but even in 22 minutes, 23 minutes, I think he'll break this. He'll be a top 120 player. So,
yeah.
No, I really like Okongwu. I think he adds a lot to the Hawks team in terms of real life play as well. So
let's go with another, again, keeping my punt points team alive. I'll go with a punt point specialist here. Again, the one thing I do like about the Clippers this year, as I take Robert Covington, is that they have a lot of quality games this season and a lot of back-to-backs. So when guys like Kawhi and Paul George are resting, I think you will see some good value from the Robert Covingtons as a streaming option. But again, the upside is not super high with their deep roster.
All right, so I'm on the clock here. Trying to look at getting some assists, but they're really
it's tough
thin
now
at this point.
Russell Westbrook's still there.
Yeah, we're not going down that path. I went down that path with Josh this morning, and I don't ever want to do it again. So I'll go with Bogdanovic.
Yeah, I like it.
He doesn't get a lot of assists, but he is a good passer.
It's a 3+.
I mean, the fact that he's playing alongside DeJounte and Trey now means he's going to get less.
Yeah. He was coming off the bench last year as well, so he might. I still think he'll be good for 3+ a game.
Yeah, I think so. It's really health with him. He seems to always be injured.
Yeah.
Well, there goes the other hype guy, Santi Aldama.
Santi Aldama. Now, I actually think that I'd probably be willing to go Santi over Tari.
Okay.
Personally,
starting role.
Just because of the value earlier in the season. Yeah, I like both of them in a similar kind of a range, but I guess it depends on your league. Like, if you think that you're in a league of nuffies and you're going to be cruising into the playoffs, then Tari Eason makes sense. But if you're in a competitive league and you've got to really fight tooth and nail to get to the playoffs, then I think Santi makes more sense. And again, I think I drafted Santi as he's another center eligible player. You can get late who contributes with threes and good percentages. So unlike those punt field goal percentage teams, he makes a lot of sense for me.
Yeah.
Whereas Tari's a bit of a jack of all trades kind of a player. So it's sort of horses for courses, but I think Tari's hype is definitely picked up compared to Santi's, which was last week's guy.
Yeah, and we might find, there's not much preseason left, but you might find the Tari hype dies down a little bit. They've probably got one game left, I would say, the Rockets. I think most teams have got one game left. So,
yeah.
If he goes out and has another 20 and 10 game, his ADP may be up in the 90s.
Yeah, he'll be inside 100. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there you go. What are your thoughts there on Mathurin this year? He's sort of hear varying opinions depending on who you talk to.
Yeah, I'm kind of lukewarm. I guess he's looked okay in the preseason. I don't mind him as, again, second last round. I think it's a fine flyer. If you need threes, he might be able to get you a steal per game if he gets the minutes. Probably he's going to score inefficiently, but again, you're not going to find many efficient scorers at this point. So I think it's a decent flyer. I wouldn't go any higher than this, but I'm not massively opposed to it.
Yeah, and then Oladipo goes next too. And weirdly enough, he's actually a bit of an upside pick at this point in the draft, which is strange to say about a guy. It
does feel strange to say, even just to hear.
As long as him. But he looks healthy. I think that's the best thing. But
I heard a stat saying this is his first preseason game that he's played in 3 seasons or something like that. Which was a bit shocking for me to hear, but.
Yeah, and the Heat need him to score. They need him out there doing things. So
it will depend on how much Kyle Lowry we see this season.
I think so.
Yeah. What they do with those, Strus and all those kind of characters. They're a hard team for me to sort of really get a grasp on, the Heat. Just with their lineups just look weird.
So we're coming up to me now.
Coming up to you. After pick 150 here, so real flyer territory. Jalen Williams comes off the board. I like him. He's looked good for the Thunder. I think that's a good flyer. Walker Kessler, and now it's up to you.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have a queue at all.
I've got one guy in my queue, and if you take him...
I sort of have a couple of guys that I like in this range who don't necessarily give me everything that I need, but I just like their game and I like their upside. So I'll go with Trey.
Oh, you did it!
Oh, I did it. That's who you had. So there you go.
I had one guy in the queue.
Thinking the same thing. So he's looked really good.
He's looked great.
So I'm not sure what his path to minutes is like, but I think even if he can get 24, 25 minutes, that'll be enough for him to have some value.
Sometimes you just got to find these guys minutes. The guys that come out and just show that they're really good. I don't know what to do now.
Sorry about that one.
That's okay. I knew it was coming too. I should have. All right, panic pick here. Let's go with Caleb Martin. Again, punting points. I don't expect him to score a lot, but he should give me a steal, should give me a few rebounds, 3 to 2 threes per game, might give me half a block. Pretty boring pick at this part of the draft, but maybe there's a bit of upside if he's starting getting good minutes. Apparently there's some good talk about him looking much better this preseason.
Yeah, I think so. I think he fits. If he was on another team, I probably wouldn't sort of have him as high, but I just think he fits the Heat build and what they're trying to do really well. So there's a spot for him there.
The Sumnu was the other guy that I had. I'm just quickly looking at this one. I'm going to take a flyer here again. I don't have a whole lot of hope on this one, but just a guy that I am watching. I think they play later today, or might even be playing right now, but Jeremy Sohan I'm going to have a swing on here. I actually think there's a decent... I know the Spurs don't typically play rookies a lot of minutes, but I think Sohan might be the exception this season, just with his versatility. They look like that 4 spot is pretty open, and he's drafted higher than a lot of their previous rookies have been, so just taking a flyer on Jeremy Sohan.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. I think with the Spurs, as with a few teams, we haven't really got a good read on what their rotations are going to look like when the season starts. So, I think take a flyer on him there. It's the last round.
Yeah.
So I'm probably still need some assistant steals. I think I've salvaged it reasonably well, but I'm going to take Jose Alvarado, who, again, I don't think he's going to play more than probably 20 minutes, but I think in 20 minutes he could get me 4 or 5 assists and 1 to 2 steals. And I mean, if he's playing 12 minutes, you drop him, you pick up someone else. So,
just a good streamer, if nothing else. At least you're going to get some use out of him early on, and then a hot waiver wire guy might come up, and then you know who you're gonna drop and get him. So I think that's fine.
Yeah, and I think we have to. I mean, you always have to look at your last 2-3 picks as waiver wire guys anyway. Yep. So
there's two ways you can normally approach it. You can swing for the fences and a high upside pick, or you can just grab a guy who, depending on your first week's matchup, or even you just grab a guy who's playing the first night of the NBA. There's only usually 2 games or so. So you just grab a guy from there and then drop him after that one game. You're already ahead of the ball. So 2 different schools of thought. Again, depends on what kind of options you have around you. But I think either is fine as well. Lonzo Ball just went at 160. What was that? 162. I think that last round, why not? Especially if you don't have anyone that you really like as a flyer, chuck them on your IR, grab someone off the waiver wire. I think that's fine. As long as you don't have another player like Jaren Jackson or Robert Williams, I think that's an okay thing to do.
Yeah, and I think most leagues nowadays have should have at least 2 IR spots. So, grab a guy like Lonzo and plug him in there and grab someone straight away off waivers. Yeah,
absolutely. Your league should have at least 2, if not 3 IR spots, I would have thought. And if you can, I would also recommend at least one of them being one of those IR pluses where you can put your outs and game time decision guys on there. So just keeps the fun involved in fantasy so that injuries don't completely ruin your season. All right, well, that was the draft there. Poku was the last pick of that draft there. Let's talk through our teams at the moment. We'll start with yours there, Adam. What was your strategy and how did you feel like you went with that draft there?
Yeah, look, I'm reasonably happy. As I sort of said early on, I got sniped a lot. I wanted Kyrie with my second pick, so I took Kawhi. Wanted Donovan Mitchell with my third pick, so I had to take Shea. Rozier, I'm happy with him, but I did want Holiday as well for the steals there. So I missed out on a few picks early on, but I was going the punt that I normally go, which is just punting your big man stats. And I think it worked, quite well. Took Sengun, as I said. If you wait, you're left with some pretty ordinary centres late in draft. So probably reached a little bit for Sengun there, but he fits the build quite well. Banchero, as I said, tossing up between him and Jabari Smith. Jeremy Grant, haven't got him on any of my teams this year, but he's looked good. Bones Highland, I like there as well. Trey Murphy, obviously, we both wanted him, so I'm happy to get him on my team and see what happens. And then, Alvarado with the last pick to get me some steals and assists.
Yeah, no, I think after those first few hits, you recovered nicely and bounced back pretty well there. Obviously, today I've gone with Tyrese Halliburton as my first pick, so I've really lent into the punt point strategy. Just wanted to try that one out and see how I'm going with that one there. So backed him up with LaMelo Ball. I think that's a really nice pairing. Obviously, going to be tricky at the start of the season, those first couple of weeks with the big guy missing, but hopefully I can weather the storm. Chris Paul, again in the third round, perfect in my punt build. The only thing that I was a little bit aware of is after those first three picks, maybe Draymond is the only other guy that's going to give me sort of more than 3 assists. The rest of my guys are low assist guys. I did grab Markelle Fultz late again, though. Will miss the start of the season. So a couple of guys that will miss the start of the season there who give me value in assist there, so I'll have to stream that to start off with. But with a couple of picks like Turner and Jakob Poeltl, Claxton, and Okongwu, I'm going to be very competitive in blocks. My rebound should be strong. Free throw percentage might be a little bit poorer, but should still beat those other punt free throw teams. So yeah, I think I did okay there. Will in future, if I was to do this again, maybe target one more guard, maybe someone with some better free throw percentage to boost that up earlier in the draft. But overall, not too unhappy with that one at all. Thanks for joining us today, Adam. Where can the people find you, and what have you got going on to finish off the preseason and to start the regular season once it actually kicks off?
So Twitter is easiest at AdamKing91. At FBI Basketball is our site Twitter handle. We've got all our leagues running. The World Cup started 2 days ago, I think. So that's drafts are up and running in that after some technical issues. Oh yeah,
everything was up in rage everywhere with Fantrax going down for 2 hours, whatever it was.
Yeah, so I think they're all sort of back up and going now. And I guess just as I said, starting to get a schedule together for the season. So looking at some regular shows, mailbag shows, and jumping on some other shows with other analysts as well throughout the season. So, excited to get some real basketball underway in a bit over a week. Yeah, I think we're exactly a week away.
Exactly 1 week. Yeah, very exciting. Yeah. No, check out Adam on Twitter. Check out Fantasy Basketball International at FBI.com. FBI-basketball.com. And you can also check out the Discord server there. Lots of good stuff that they put out. You can check out more of my rankings, articles, and also get access to our exclusive Q&A podcast, which will be happening into the regular season. There will be one more coming out this week on YouTube, but after that, all of those Q&A podcasts will be exclusive to subscribers and on the website only. So head over to ballboysnba.com. Just $10. It'll sign you up for the whole season, and you can get yourself all ready for your draft this weekend. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, I should say. Like the video, and I will see you guys next time. Laters.